me ask you a couple of questions. Hopefully it'll tie in to the lesson we have. Are you happy? Do you have joy in your heart and soul?
Happy in this life as a man ought to be.
Are you happy?
Everybody saw me.
Are you satisfied with the way things are going? Sometimes we don't. The way the United States is going right now, I'm not too happy with that. Are you?
Yeah.
No. So the subject of thought I want to look at is basically talking about being satisfied. And the word is content. That's what satisfied means. Are you content? Are you happy? Are you joyful? Or you have peace in your heart? If you do, you're content with what you have. So, if you would, Brother David, I'm not reading Philippians 4:8-11. Let's think about being satisfied in life. Before we read that, let me go ahead and mention this. You go ahead and turn to Philippians 4, but the thought about being satisfied, this is kind of in left field, but maybe we'll tie it in with the lesson. When I got a new snapper lawnmower several years ago, it was brand new. I went over to Blackshear and I rode around a little thing there and I bought that snapper. It was brand new. I was satisfied. I was very happy, joyful that I wouldn't have to get out and try to crank a lawnmower with battery cables and stuff and more, because all that was good. But I bought a new car. And all these things, these new things, they must, I was telling somebody a while ago, they must spray some kind of spray in it and make it smell new for about a month. But after about a month, now I took that brand new lawnmower and I'd put it in the garage, cover it up, and lock it down. Why did I do that?
New toy.
It was something new. We're never satisfied. Well, after several weeks, the lawnmower wound up out there in the yard getting rained on. That's the way things are in life. We're happy for a moment, and then all of a sudden, the new wears off. We're not satisfied. We got to find something else, don't we? Well, Paul writes that when he's writing this letter, and he starts off and he says, "Finally, this is the way it should be." And David, if you would read this.
Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of a good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. Those things which ye have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, do, and the God of peace shall be with you. But I rejoiced in the Lord greatly, that now at the last your care of me hath flourished again, wherein ye were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to be content.
Okay, that's far enough. A lot of whatsoever there, ain't it? Whatsoever this, that, and the other. But Paul was saying whatever state he was in, and I was at, I think it was at Jerry J's, and Brother Durnich, Donnie Durnich, the preacher, and Billy were eating breakfast several years ago, but it stuck in my mind. And I was telling them about this, and Brother Billy said, "What state? Alabama, New York, or Georgia?" I said, "No. Whatever state he was in was the condition he was in at that time." And so he's telling us in verse 10, Paul was telling us, "I rejoiced." He was happy. Now, evidently he was probably in prison at this time. But he says in verse 10, Paul was telling them, "I rejoiced in the Lord." Was he content? Verse 4 tells us he rejoiced in the Lord always. That's what it should be. Verse 11, he was telling all the circumstances that he had learned to be satisfied or be content. So I think probably, I know Paul was in and out of prison many times, and prisons back in those days was not a place to be real happy in. But he said, I'm happy. Whatever state they put me in, I'm happy with that. Now, probably prisons back in those days, they'd hang you up by chains and things like this and beat you and about starve you to death. And it wasn't a pleasant place to be. But Paul says, I rejoice. How could he rejoice? How could he be happy? How could he have peace when he was in prison? They was beating him and they about killing him, and eventually did kill him. How could he do that?
He felt peace from God.
The God that we serve, we are strengthened every day by God. Philippians 4:13, I think it is, says, I can do all things. Well, what are all the things that Paul was going through? He was getting beat. He was getting ridiculed. He was hated. But he says, I can do all things with Christ that strengthens me. That's what the Vietnam soldiers, Brother Virgil probably can tell you the same thing. They worked out a system. They'd tap on the walls and talk to each other in Vietnam prisons, and they would use scriptures to make them strong every day. They would communicate back into and tap out John 3:16 or Philippians 4:13 or Hosea 4:6 or whatever. They communicated, and they could rejoice and have a peace even though they were in prison. Well, Paul he says, I rejoice. So those prisons was a hell on earth, wasn't it? But he was satisfied in his heart and soul and mind. I thought about the lesson the other night, Wednesday night. All week I've used it with talking to Janice. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm in the think house. I'm thinking. What are you doing? I'm thinking. Well, that can even give you a peace of mind, is just shut the world out and get in your think box. And that stuck with me, and I'm going to probably use it a lot more, but whenever you get in your think box, you shut the world out, and God, you think on whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things, think on these things. That we need to be in the think box and shut the world out and think about what God has done and is doing for every one of us. I thought I was in my think box, and I was sitting on the porch, and it was raining, and I was sitting there on the back patio, and I was in my think box, and I got thinking, Lord, you were way back yonder, as far as I can remember. And I can't remember very far back, but I can remember some things that happened when I was young, and I was in that think box, and we got to see him. Well, the Lord was with me. In the later years, I turned 16, and it was time for me to leave the nest. Shortly after that, I did. At 17, I left home. But I got thinking about, Lord's right there with me. Is God with you? Are you happy? That's what I started asking you to start with. Do you have peace of mind? Are you joyful? Well, you're satisfied if you are. If you're in that think box and you focus on Jesus, Hebrews chapter 13, Brother Chris, read Hebrews 13. Let me think verse that. 13:5. 13:5 and 6.
Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. So we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me.
That verse is telling you that he's with you right there. Do we get discontented quick? Now, we're satisfied for a little while, but I told y'all one time about that. Y'all probably seen the commercial on TV about the woman and two women there, and one of them, there's a couch here. And y'all probably seen that commercial. She looked at that couch. I think it was suede, if I remember right. And she said, I got to have it. Y'all seen that? And she wanted it bad. And then it showed two crooks come in the commercial. I wish they'd play it more because I enjoyed watching that. But she said, I got to have it, and then it switched over to two thieves, robbers that were breaking in the house. And he says, I got to have it. Well, they were not satisfied until they got that cash. And that's the way we are in life. We're not satisfied until we get something that satisfies us for that temporary moment. But Jesus said over in Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom, and all these other things will be added unto you. What things? He's going to shelter you, he's going to take care of you, and all you got to do is seek him first, and everything else will be took care of once. So you can be satisfied, but most of the time we're like that woman with that couch. She probably got it and didn't care nothing about it after 2 or 3 months or a year.
A day.
Huh?
2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days. Things get old. We crave things, don't we? And the Bible teaches about craving for things. Let's go over to Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 15. Sister Christy, we read and think about these new things that we have, and they satisfy our soul for a little while, but then the process, it gets old.
Verse 15.
Yeah, start with verse 15.
The horse leech hath 2 daughters, crying, Give, give. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, yea, 4 things say not, it is enough.
All right, keep reading.
Okay. The grave and the barren womb, the earth that is not filled with water, and the fire that hath said, It is enough. The eye that mocketh at his father, and despiseth to obey his mother. The ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagle shall eat it. There be 3 things which are too wonderful for me, yea, 4 which I know not. The way of the eagle in the air, the way of a serpent upon a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a maid. Such is the way of an adulterous woman. She eateth and wipeth her mouth, and saith, I have done no wickedness.
Okay, stop right there. If you look at verse 16, he says, 15, the horse leech had 2 daughters, that's talking about Israel and Gentile, I believe, I'm not positive, crying, saying, Give, give. They want something more and more and more. And it says there are 3 things that are never satisfied or never content, yea, 4. They say it's not enough. One is the grave. That grave right back of us, back here, does it want another one? It's not satisfied until you get to another one. The grave is never satisfied. The barren womb, women want more children. Over and over. The earth is not filled with water. It rained and it's flooded in the Carolinas and North Carolina and all that water that's flooded the towns and all that, it's dried up and it's waiting for some more, isn't it? It wants more water. It's not satisfied. It's not content. The water, the grave, the fire. You can take one small match and go out to California and just pump it out there in a dry spot, and what would happen? That fire gets bigger, and it wants more, and more. I got thinking about that more and more and more. The Bible teaches us that it says a little leaven the whole lump. In other words, that a little sin, a little fire causes a big fire. Well, a little sin causes a bigger sin. Now, sin is sin, don't get it wrong. It's just as bad to have a small sin, we consider, as it is to have a big sin like adultery or something like that. Well, it's always wanting more. And usually it gets more, doesn't it? So, the grave, the womb, the earth, and the fire. All these are saying, I want more. The children of Israel want more, when they were brought out of Egyptian bondage, they wanted more and more, didn't they? God gave them plenty to eat. And they said, we're not satisfied with that manna. We're sick of the manna. That was a little wafer falling out of heaven, sustaining their lives. They had water and they had manna for food. They had everything in that manna that would take care of the human body. But the children of Israel, I give David a peppermint a while ago. David, do you like onions?
I do. I eat them
He
every
loves
day.
them. Well, I give him a peppermint every time he eats onions, or I find out about it. But the main point is, Israel wanted the onions and the leeks and all these things back there. And they weren't satisfied. Well, God gave them. What did He give them? They wasn't satisfied. What did He give them? He gave them quail, didn't He? And they eat so much quail that said it was running out their nose. You think about that. You really satisfied then? No. They got what they wanted, didn't they? Well, sometimes we get what we want, and then we're dissatisfied quick. So we got to watch what we want. That couch looks pretty to that woman, but in the long run, it's going to deteriorate, be bad. The rich young ruler come running to Jesus. He said, Master, what good thing should I do to have eternal life? He told him what to do. I kept that, but he lacked one thing. He said, give to the poor and come and follow me. But the rich man was sorrowful. Why? He wasn't satisfied, was it? He wanted more and more and more. Money itself, over in Timothy, it teaches us about the love of money is the root of all evil. The money is not the evil. What's the evil? The love of it. The love of it. There's nothing wrong with being rich. A lot of the Old Testament people like Job and all them, they had much riches. But Job put God first. And he knew that everything that he had now, he couldn't take it with him. Well, that ought to teach us a lesson right there. It's good to have money, but put it in its respective place and be satisfied with what you do have and not try to hoard up more and more money. You can't take it with you. I've often wondered about that. There was one man years ago, way back in the 60s or 70s, I believe it was. He said you can't take it with you. Well, he had a Cadillac, had it buried with him. You remember that? The world is going to give you a little older. Proverbs 15:16, it says, better is little with fear of the Lord than great treasures. You understand what that says? Better is what? A little. With the fear of the Lord than great treasures and trouble therewith, it says. Over in 1 Timothy 6:6-8, it says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it's certain that we carry nothing out. Can you carry your Cadillac with you? You can carry it, but it ain't going to do no good. We brought nothing in this world, and you're going to go out with nothing. And whenever I went to school, they used to say, naught plus naught is what? No. Nothing plus nothing is nothing. You're not going to carry nothing out with you. I got a couple of scriptures here that really stuck in my mind as I was reading this, and if you contemplate on really what they're saying, it's telling us a valuable lesson, how we can be satisfied and not discontented. It says over in Psalms 34:10, the young lions do lack and suffer hunger. Is that lion hungry? It's lacking, and it says it's hungry, it suffers hunger. But they that seek the Lord shall not want anything, good thing. In Matthew 6:33-34, we read that about the kingdom of God and righteousness, and you can have peace and joy and happiness. In Hebrews 12:2 it says, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith, who for the joy, what? The joy, was set before him, and endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down on the right hand of the throne of God. And then I want you to listen to this Hebrews 13:5. I talked to Brother Phillips this morning, we kind of discussed this. In 13:5 it says in Hebrews, let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content. Be what? Be content with such things that you have. Are you happy? Are you joyful in your heart? Do you have peace? Well, this is telling us if we look to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, if we focus on Jesus, get in your think box and look to Jesus and think about Jesus, shove the world out, there's a great happiness that comes. So we can be content as Paul was. Paul was content in whatever state he was in, whatever condition he was in. That's what it means. So be content and don't get discontented. It's easy to do because the devil's out there to bring you down and destroy your life if he can. So you get brought into another world and you ain't gonna hear none of that. Those are just some thoughts I had. Anybody got any comments?
Life is not about the things in this world.
That's what we think it is.
We think it is, and that's where we focus most of our thought and time. If we can look beyond the flesh, beyond this world, and we can, like you said, continue to see Jesus, we can be happy, and we can have peace and contentment.
When I mentioned about the old lawnmower, I locked it up, covered it up. Why did I do that? I was afraid somebody would steal my brand new lawnmower. You crazy, Jerry. Get out in the rain and enjoy the thing.
You know, you see that same application in marriage today.
It's on anything.
When you got a new wife, she's the most precious thing in the world.
Well, you better be careful with it.
She
What?
still is.
Yeah, you better say that.
But you see people getting divorced because they're not content.
I think that's what you meant. I heard bottom line the other day, we just come out of the creek. I can see it. Thank the Lord that we have a God that gives us scriptures that we can guide us day by day and instruct us how to live here and have a heaven on this earth while we have, or in this passing vapor we're going through. Our life is a vapor. And I pray the Lord bless us to be content in Him and be satisfied with Jesus. There's a song, I am satisfied with Jesus. Are you? Are you really satisfied? Only you can answer that.